I think we have to start with citizens, consumers. If we create enough demand, and that demand is loudly and for a long time voiced by the public, corporations and governments will and have been jumping up to the plate, because without that demand, businesses don't always see a value in doing the right thing by the environment, or indeed by social justice and all of the other issues that I think people really actually care about, and they just need to voice that. I started campaigning on food waste before any of the big companies or governments or international institutions had any overt policies on that issue. That situation has changed dramatically. We've now had the United Nations announcing a goal to halve waste by 2030. The US government has just announced a target to support that. They've committed the country to halving food waste. Across Europe, we've seen countries, companies, organisations, individuals really taking the issue of food waste as not just a tragedy, which it is, but as a key opportunity to reduce the environmental impact of food production and increase food availability to those people who need it most. Just in the last 2 weeks, I have seen a continuation, but an acceleration as well, of some of the changes that we've been pushing for many years now. We had a programme that I've helped to make with Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall on BBC One. The last episode was watched by more than 5 million people. The evaluation of that programme has been incredible, way above average levels of engagement, continued engagement, hundreds of thousands of people signing Hugh's petition. We've seen, even before the first episode, Morrison's, who were really in the firing line, preemptively declared that they're going to be the first supermarket to donate all of their surplus food to charity, whereas previously they have been the refuseniks in the supermarket industry. We've seen them change their cosmetic standards for parsnips. They're going to start a whole new range of ugly fruit and vegetables. This is what I mean. If you get something out there to the public, create that public outcry and really channel that towards those decision makers who really control a big chunk of our food system, namely the supermarket bosses, you can, and we have over the last several years, achieved very significant change at no real cost to anyone, but to benefit many people in the environment. Unfortunately, what we have in the global food system, arguably in the global system itself, is a tragedy of the commons. The people who cause a lot of the problems, who cause the food waste, for example, are not necessarily the people who pay the bill. So you cannot complacently rely on it being in a business interests to stop food waste. We, for example, Feedback, the organisation I founded, have been focusing on precisely how supermarkets will cause their suppliers to waste food by cancelling orders, by asserting these incredibly strict cosmetic standards. They're not paying for that cost. They're not paying for the water being wasted. They're not paying for the carbon dioxide emissions being emitted. They're not paying for the biodiversity impacts of this food production. It's all on the plate of the suppliers, and therefore they don't really have an interest, or such a direct interest, in tackling that. The way in which to get them to care is firstly by putting pressure on them from their customer base, from the public, and secondly by convincing governments that there is actually a case for regulation. And the United Kingdom has been leading the way on this. We passed a law in 2013 which is landmark. It's called the Groceries Code Adjudicator Act. Basically this is a supermarket's policeman, or woman as she is, Christine Tacon. And we're now trying to extend a similar principle across Europe and take some of the knowledge that we've now developed over to America. So, I think there's a role for everyone. Businesses must play their part, but it's our role, the public's role, to demand that they do, and for governments to step in where businesses aren't moving fast enough.